In today's lesson, we'll be learning about perpendicular lines. In a previous lesson, we learned that perpendicular lines are lines that meet at right angles. If you recall, a right angle is 90 degrees, and we would have seen these in right triangles. A right angle is indicated by this small square. We also previously learned that perpendicular lines have slopes which are negative reciprocals. And a shortcut I use to remember this is the phrase flip it and switch it. In our first example, the equations of two lines are given. We want to know if they are perpendicular. Well, that means we need to take a look at their slopes. Line 1 has a slope of 3 over 2, while line 2 has a slope of negative 2 over 3. If you recall, perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. In other words, have these been flipped and switched? Well, the 3 here is now in the bottom, and the 2 here is now in the top. This is negative, while this is positive. Therefore, we can conclude that these slopes are negative reciprocals, therefore, they are perpendicular lines. In our second example, the equation of two lines have been given. We need to determine if they are perpendicular lines, which means we need to take a look at their slopes. Our first line has a slope of 4 over 3, while our second line has a slope of 3 over 4. Are these slopes negative reciprocals? In other words, have they been flipped and switched? Well, the 4 is now in the bottom, and the 3 is now in the top. But both of these slopes are positive, so that means they are not negative reciprocals, so they are not perpendicular lines. In our third example, the equation of two lines have been given. We need to determine if they are perpendicular lines. That means we need to take a look at their slopes. The slope of line 1 is negative 5, while the slope of line 2 is 1 over 5. Are these slopes negative reciprocals? In other words, have they been flipped and switched? This situation is a little tricky since negative 5 is written as a whole number and not a fraction. Therefore, you can rewrite negative 5 as a fraction. That would be negative 5 over 1. You should now see that 5 is now in the bottom and 1 is now in the top. This slope is negative while this slope is positive, which means they have been flipped and switched, which means they are negative reciprocals. So these two lines are perpendicular lines.